Step right up and get your new action figures here. That's right, the Rise of Skywalker will have more troopers for you to buy that will probably do absolutely nothing in the film. Welcome back to the Resistance broadcast, everybody. I'm John Hoey. Thank you so much for joining us today. It is a beautiful Monday here in the Resistance base. Why? Because we actually got some Star Wars, the Rise of Skywalker news, sort of, via some merchandise. We'll get into that in a little bit. So without further ado, let me welcome in the crew. James, Lacey, guys, happy Monday. Are you excited about Sith Troopers? We're going to be talking about some Sith Troopers tonight. How you doing? What's going on?
One of the first things I said to John after the Sith Troopers thing happened, I was like, you are not seriously putting this in the category of like the judicials and some of these other troopers.
You mean the executioners?
Yeah, the First Order judicials.
Yeah.
They call them nickname executioners or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they are a little more important than the regular trooper, and we'll get into that.
Like the Death Troopers, yeah. Lacey, what's up?
I'm really excited. I'm going to buy an action figure. They're cool.
Good.
They're red. It's flashy. Someone made a funny point that it looks like they're 3D printed, but they haven't been like sanded yet because they have those lines.
Yes.
I like those lines.
I mean, they're interesting for sure, and we'll get into it in a little bit, but we have some important business to take care of, guys.
Poll.
Oh, you knew it. Damn it. Poll results. Let's do it. Okay, guys. He was trending big time on Twitter, so we figured he earned it. Let's have some fun, and we asked you, would you like seeing Jar Jar Binks appear in Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker? And this is one of our closest polls in the history of the Resistance broadcast, and who better to do that to us than Jar Jar Binks? So we gave you guys three choices. Yes, meesa back. No, smells stinkawith. Or sure, but a brief cameo only, which is a very popular line from Jar Jar in The Phantom Menace. So the results were 29% said yes, 35% said no, and just by 1%, the winning vote, 36% said sure, but a brief cameo only. So maybe like a Revenge of the Sith, but even less. So guys, this was our closest poll in a very long time. You definitely have your Jar Jar fans out there who think we're including everything possibly maybe into this final movie. What'd you guys think about this, and how'd you vote?
I voted cameo, I think. I don't remember. I think I voted cameo because I said if it was yes, it would be like too much for me because his character was like in the prequels, so I think he should kind of
Well, you could have voted no.
I didn't vote no. I definitely voted yes or like cameo, but I'm pretty sure I said cameo because I thought like just a small moment would be fun.
So you like the Binks?
I think he's funny.
Okay. James, last we saw him was Aftermath. He was like a street outcast court jester type of situation. What's going on? How'd you take this?
I put short, brief cameo only. I think it's interesting because he's kind of a character that if he did have a brief cameo and even the briefest of briefs, right? Maybe even not even a speaking line. There would be like 50% of the audience that would go, yes! And like 50% of the audience would be like, oh my God, no.
Yeah.
Right? Anything more than that, and they're pushing it because then you might cause the like yes crowd to be like, okay, too much. So I think if anything, brief cameo, yeah.
I just can't think of like how they would do it without it like taking people out of the story. There's Jar Jar Binks walking through the middle of a lightsaber duel. Like,
well, yeah, well, that's the YouTube comment. Put in the YouTube comments. What realistically, no jokes here. Realistically, what do you think would be the simplest, easiest way to put him in there for fans, but not have it pull people out of the movie?
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah,
give us some ideas.
It's something to talk about because it's possible he could come back, but I don't think he will. But it certainly is possible. Now, our best comment doesn't seem like a serious one, but We go by the rules, and that's the most likes. So the best comment went to Alderanian Rose at Alderanian R. I guess a character limitation there. And they had said, yes, Jar Jar back in episode 9. As long as he is confirmed as a Sith Lord who is still maintaining Sidious's shrine on the Death Star ruins in the Rise of Skywalker. So Darth Jar Jar is still a thing for some people. And I wonder,
you think that's a joke?
Do you guys think that people think that that's a real thing? Like anyone, like a small portion of people out there?
I don't think so. I think it's become one of those things that people are just like kind of laughing at it.
Like it's a bit?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good job on the comment. You got a bunch of likes, so thank you, Alderanian Rose. All right, so now it is time to talk about real stuff, tangible stuff, the Rise of Skywalker stuff, and other stuff. So let's go to the Resistance Report right now with James Baney. What's up, man?
It's the Resistance.
All right, guys. News has been light lately. But like John was saying earlier, this is the first time we're actually getting a little piece of news. So now, John, before we get into this, would you say that this was StarWars.com or the Star Wars show that dropped this news?
I would say it's StarWars.com.
StarWars.com, is that just so that you can continue to say the Star Wars show doesn't drop news?
Yes.
All right. So StarWars.com dropped a bunch of new information. I say information, not a whole lot of information, but a bunch of
news,
merchandise, and cups, book bags, hot toys,
yep.
All these different things that you can buy, and they all relate to these brand new Sith troopers, which are going to be in the Rise of Skywalker, and hopefully actually be in the Rise of Skywalker and not like what's his name with the
BB-9E?
the hat?
Oh.
No, he was in the movie. I'm talking about the one from Force Awakens. With
Zuvio?
Zuvio, yeah.
It was like the first action figure released.
Yeah, they're like, get a load of this guy. He's going to be great.
People used to speculate that he was going to be like a real bad guy and stuff. Like, just like, that didn't even show up.
These things are basically red and black from head to toe. They look really cool, but I think the eye-catching feature of them really comes in the name, the Sith Troopers. Lacey, I'm gonna start with you. What are your thoughts on these things? Are you with John? I think John's kind of made it known that he's doesn't think these are going to be that big of a deal.
I think it's one of those scenarios where they had to announce and do something at San Diego, and JJ didn't want to give anything away. So he was like, just do the Stormtrooper because it doesn't give anything away. And it's cool, and it's Star Wars, and people like Stormtroopers. Because I remember before The Force Awakens came out, they were like, look at all these Stormtroopers. And everything that was released was Stormtrooper because they didn't want to give anything away. So I think this is one of those scenarios that since Stormtroopers have been in every Star Wars movie, it's an easy way to build up that story of this is the legacy, this is the end of the end, this is what it's been building to without giving anything away. And then Madeline, who works in the costume archiving department, she was interviewed in the article and she talked about how the trooper has little homages to different Stormtroopers from different eras, which is really cool. Which means that, Michael Kaplan has really thought about how the troopers have changed over the years. But yeah, no, I don't think this gives away anything. The only weird thing is that it's called Sith, obviously. But other than that, I think they released the one thing. Yeah, okay, you're making a hand gesture at me, James. But overall, I don't think they've released anything that is saying, like, this is the storyline. They're just saying, here's a red Stormtrooper.
Well, okay, fair. But the reason I'm looking at this and I'm like, I don't understand how everybody just seems to put this in the same category is that these aren't just called blood troopers. If they were called blood troopers, I'd be like, oh yeah, they're just the next.
You mean because like Death Troopers?
Or if they were called Crimson Troopers or something like that, I'd be like, oh, okay. But this is different. They're called Sith Troopers. And that means that there's something spiritual about them or there's some sort of connection to the other entity, the Force entity were there. Does that mean that they're the first Force using Stormtroopers? That's a big deal, right?
Maybe.
That means that these guys are essentially like stormtroopers, like the Knights of Ren of stormtroopers. But I don't necessarily think that's the case. So this also, I mean, think about it. If they were called Jedi troopers, what are those? That's completely different from every other mud trooper or whatever. Executioners, like we were talking about earlier, like all these things, those are just other names for different troopers, sand troopers and stuff. What we're talking about here is something completely different. If these things were called Windu troopers, that's a big deal. Like there's something there that's completely different because you have to then connect it. Well, this somehow has to be connected to Mace Windu, right? This now sets up a new precedent on what a stormtrooper can be. And how are these guys related? Because they can only be related to, and this is where, John, I thought you would get big into this, is they have to be related directly to Palpatine, or Snoke and Kylo are confirmed as Sith. Or there's like another Sith out there. And all of these options are totally only because of the name of this character. These things, I'm not saying they're going to have a huge relevance, but their existence is important to the future of Star Wars to a degree. They're not just another trooper. So John, where are you sitting with this? He's like, they're just another trooper.
Well, I mean,
I just think that they're not going to play a big role in the movie. And I think everyone's making a big deal about a stormtrooper.
But it's not a stormtrooper. That's what I'm saying.
It's a stormtrooper. It's a red stormtrooper. It's just a different name. The only tie that it might have is that they work for Palpatine, which someone had pointed out to me that in Legends they had a Sith
That's what
trooper.
I'm saying. That's a bigger deal, right?
Sure, of course.
This is John's turn. He's getting mad now.
He's not getting mad, but I feel like you just aggressively yelled at me about Sith troopers.
All right, yeah.
When I was just telling you that it's a red stormtrooper. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I don't know.
All that waiting and that's what you come up with?
No, I mean, it would be wrong of me to say that they're going to be important because they keep trying to sell these troopers that they're big deals all the time. In Rogue One, the Death Troopers were going to be the most fearsome troopers we've ever seen. They're in all black. They have a weird, menacing sound. They barely did anything, let's be honest. The Praetorian Guards, it was like, well, look at these guys. Now they have those things that can block lightsabers, and they're going to be a big deal because they're Snokes, and they're going to be a huge thing. Tomato sauce. I mean, so it would be foolish of me to, the whole fool me once thing, to say like, all right, now this time they got it. They're going to do it. But James, to your point, you're right. I mean, the wording Sith Trooper does lead us on to at least go back to that belief that maybe these guys are something for a change. But I'm wondering, like, Sith Trooper, could it be to ward off Sith? Could it be like that way, like where you're, using the term because that's what you attack or something like that? Because does the rule of two come back? If Kylo Ren's trying to become a Sith, does Palpatine return because he doesn't want the Sith moniker taken away from him? Is that a thing? So I think there's different ways you can look at this. I don't think it's necessarily these are troopers of the Sith or that they are Sith, because you have to assume there's going to be a bunch of these guys. And if they are Sith and they're all, technically called Sith, then you're not doing rule of two anymore. Then you have all these different Sith running around. So
I guess my question is how they relate to the Knights of Ren. Like, that's my confusion.
I don't think they do at all.
Is because
I don't think they do.
Right, because everybody's like, oh, well, clearly Sith Trooper, maybe they're Force sensitive. But then that downplays what the Knights of Ren are.
Yeah, I don't think there's
That's
any
why
connection.
I don't think they're Force sensitive.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I think they may be used to, like, ward off Sith or something. I think that's what it might be.
So I have a little theory on these, and I think that if the Death Star is really what we want to call like his Palpatine's like gravesite, right? And he's like, for whatever reason, like latched on to the material that is that machine, that technological terror. Mm-hmm. Then you got to think at some point the First Order have visited these places looking for pieces of the old empire, stuff like that. And they may have in the past encountered Palpatine's spirit. In which case they were like, well, we can't have people messing with this stuff. So we're going to set up a legion of stormtroopers that are here to not only protect the Death Star, but specifically to protect, like, keeping the entity that is the Emperor intact and safe, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of makes sense.
I like that.
And these people will be called Sith troopers because that's what they're protecting. They're protecting the Sith.
Is there any kind of, did they show any description yet?
No, but there is one thing though, because on the backpack, that's the Sith Trooper backpack, on the cover, there are these little like diamond symbols. And actually Kyle from Star Wars Newsnet, who does book reviews, very good book and comic reviews, pointed out that the symbol used for Kylo Ren in the character book is the same logo that's on the Sith Trooper backpack.
That's interesting.
That's used for Kylo Ren?
Yes.
Okay, because not from Kyle, but from somebody else, I think I saw that it was associated with Vader.
Oh, I might have to look that up. I might have assumed black and Kylo Ren. Give me 2 seconds.
Well, I don't know. Well, if it's Kylo Ren, then we have a whole other topic on our hands here.
Yeah, give me 2 seconds. Keep talking about it. Go.
But if it's Vader, then they might have subtly snuck in this symbol as like, this is the symbol for Sith that we're going to start using.
So I was messaged something by someone who sent a post from a guy who worked on these Sith troopers. And the guy posted Instagram, and he said, well, I guess you can now see a little bit of what we have been up to for the last year or so. Beautifully designed by Glenn Dillon and modeled by Aristotle's Lantern. I was lucky enough to be charged with assembling the helmets, which were expertly casted out by our mold room. Then after looking at these guys on set in person, these guys are amazing and totally badass. And this is only a slice of the awesome stuff we've done. I can't wait for this film. Now, the hashtags he used were Star Wars, Sith Trooper, Rise of Skywalker, First Order, Stormtrooper, model making, costumes, costume making, and filmmaking. So he lumped First Order in with it. Yeah.
Right. It is Darth Vader,
that
by
was
the
the
way.
thing. Yeah, okay. It was Darth Vader. So the thing that I was looking at these with a coworker, and I said, well, they're clearly First Order. And he's like, how do you know that? And I was like, because the helmets are reminiscent of the First Order. So it's not like these guys have been around since the Empire and they're still doing something or still associated with Palpatine.
Right.
Like, that makes me think that Palpatine hasn't made these his own. Like, he didn't command that these exist, because otherwise... Oh. I don't think he would have been like, yeah, whatever, just make him look like the First Order.
Yeah, I agree.
It feels like it's something that someone in the First Order... I forget what that commissioned for. Mm-hmm.
So another interesting thing someone pointed out, it was actually a girl named Danny at Cardigan Vixen. She said that she had the Sith book, the book of Sith or whatever. And there's a chapter called The Manipulation of Life. And in the upper left-hand corner of the book is the symbol that's on the backpack.
So it's something that they've been using for a while.
Yes.
Like even in Legends.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm wondering, do you guys think, because, again, going back to what we were talking about, the Galaxy of Adventures clip did feature Kylo Ren heavily in the Jedi vs. Sith video, and then they come out with these Sith troopers. Yep. Is Kylo Ren finally exploring, like, to finish what you started? Is he trying to become a Sith?
So that was my first theory upon seeing them. I was like, John's going to lose his mind, because just on the surface, the first thing to me is this confirms that the Sith are still a thing, and Snoke's not around, so it's got to be Kylo Ren. He already just pointed out that they're saying he's a Sith in, this animated thing. and he's got to be the person. He's the supreme leader. He's clearly the person that commissioned for these things to be made, right? You know, if they're new and all this stuff. And I thought about it a little bit more, and I was like, I think I can do better than this, because that to me downplays the Knights of Ren and a bunch of other things. I also just don't think they're going down that route. You know, I think they're still going to try to stay as close as they can to the whole, like, because even JJ like really tried hard to say, no, Snoke and Kylo Ren are not Sith, because we want that to stay intact. Now he's the one who's bringing the Emperor back. So you think he's going back on his word? I think he's probably, whatever they're doing, they're still going to keep the fact that the Sith are gone.
So, James,
I don't think these belong to a current living Sith.
I'm going to get a little wild here. But if we're going to assume that Richard E. Grant is going to play more than a cameo type of role, and Hux is going to come back the way we knew Hux in TFA, the way JJ originally designed him, as really evil. What if, and this is Speculation Nation, okay?
And I do mean, what if?
What if, because we know there's no love lost between him and Kylo Ren, right? What if this was a plan that behind the scenes, behind Kylo Ren's back, commissioned by Hux to create these troopers to bring, and his plan is to bring Palpatine back to take down Kylo Ren? What if that's the thing?
But in The Force Awakens, Hux is the one that's against clones.
I'm not saying these guys are clones, though.
I guess. I don't know. It seemed like he was so confident with his own army that Kylo Ren was like, well, why don't we use clones? And he was
maybe
like,
maybe that's where General Smiley comes in, whatever his real name is.
Yeah, maybe Hux. I mean, going on John's point, which I'm not totally with.
That's right.
Yeah.
I like Star Wars.
Elite. What is it? Elite General Pride?
Allegiant.
Legion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe these people know that if they were to put a bunch of First Order troopers on Kylo Ren and the Knights of Ren, they would just lose because those guys are too powerful. So maybe they've been cooking up a specific, but it's
like a failsafe. Like if Kylo loses it, they send these guys
like
in.
a specific group of like really crazy stormtroopers that would be able to take down them, and that's how they're playing them up. But the thing to me is like, he'd be like, I call them the Sith troopers, and he's like, I'm not a Sith.
Yeah,
it's just so dumb.
Yeah.
Like it feels like a mistake. They'd be like, I thought you were a Sith. He's a Sith, right? You know, and it's like, no, he's not.
They go and they check their order form. They're like, we have it.
The author would not make.
Well, a lot of fans, a lot of casual fans probably think Kylo Ren is a Sith. Like even at Celebration, that girl said Kylo Ren on the stage.
Yeah, and I screamed that he wasn't.
Right. So I think
He's not.
I don't see a situation in Episode 9 where they're not pursuing Hux trying to stab Kylo Ren in the back. I think that's still going to exist.
Find out. He's going to find out that he killed Snoke.
No, I think because there's a year gap, Lacey, he already finds out in between 8 and 9, and he's been planning. So we're gonna the first time we see Hux, he's well aware and he's already planning what's going on. And Kylo Ren at the same time is still trying to sell the lie. So Hux is pretending he doesn't know to Kylo Ren, but he really does know, and he brings along, I like Star Wars, and they start planning this whole thing. And,
that's definitely a novel that someone could write.
I think that's what
novel about when he found out he handles it.
Yeah,
especially because in that moment he's so scared that Kylo Ren's going to choke him out. So I could see him just laying low, like playing the long game.
Yes, and that year gap does that. And like James said, you can, after this movie comes out, go back and write that novel, how Hux found out, how he started his plan, and maybe these Sith troopers are a part of that. Maybe they're created and ordered by him behind, because we knew he was more of the military than Kylo Ren was anyway. Kylo Ren was obsessed with his personal stuff. Maybe he got this plan in place behind Kylo Ren's back, and the reason to create them is to take Kylo Ren down.
I mean, the action figure comes with like 7 guns.
Yeah. The only thing, and I mean,
it's wild speculation. It could be way off.
Yeah.
But
even the laser sword that the Praetorian guards have, they also have them.
at the beginning that I don't think these guys are going to have a very big role. I'm more specifically talking about the fact that they exist means that we can start to put things together about the storyline.
Sure, absolutely.
But the more and more you're talking about it, the more and more it sounds like you're leaning towards they would have a bigger role because they are basically the MacGuffin of like, we're going to use them to take down the blah, blah, blah. And they're the big army. They're the big controversy for Kylo Ren. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I think they're background characters.
Or they're just
a couple shots off.
They're just the tangible symbol showing that Hux is doing this. Instead of it just him talking about it or whatever. Like, they may not have a big, important role. Kylo Ren may destroy them himself in one fell swoop, right?
Yeah, and again, what a waste for Hux, you know?
Yeah, right.
All right, here's how we're using Hux. He's going to build up this thing of Sith troopers. They're going to go after Kylo Ren and die.
But unless part of Hux's plan is to bring back Palpatine.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, yeah.
These also could
like
be the
his
thing
Sith
that
troopers fail, but he's got one more thing in his bag, which is like resurrecting Palpatine.
Yeah. Do you think it's outrageous? Would it be outrageous to you, Lacey, if Hux was the one who was behind bringing Palpatine back because he wants to take down Ren?
No, because I said that he was going to betray Kylo Ren in the beginning of Episode 9 in my prediction a year ago.
I think everyone thinks Hux is definitely out to take out Kylo Ren, right?
Yeah,
I don't think anyone's
jealous. Right, but I've been saying, and other people have been saying this too, that he's going to be the reason that Kylo Ren goes good.
Oh, I don't think that, but that's okay.
It could happen.
That's a discussion for another time.
Okay.
Yeah, that does put a lot of weight. Man, it's hard to not underplay Hux, but also not overplay him.
Yeah.
Like, it depends what his role is in relation to Palpatine. But going back to the Sith Troopers, which is what we're actually talking about,
yes.
I agree that they're not going to play a big role. And I honestly think that this announcement was, like I said, to sell merchandise and to be like, look at this cool thing from this movie coming up that doesn't give anything away or necessarily.
Sure.
But I understand, James, what you're saying, that their existence and their name could play a bigger role. But them themselves, no.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that boat.
Because JJ wouldn't give it away if it was a big thing in the movie. And I think the fact that they're doing a display. So the only displays we've seen up until this point is at Essence Festival in New Orleans. We saw all the costumes that we've already seen.
Yep.
And then we're seeing Stormtroopers with one new Stormtrooper. Mm-hmm. Like, they're keeping this really close to the production.
Right. Yeah.
It's weird. Because there's so many names that you could go with that I'd be like, yeah, that's just another trooper.
Sure,
you know?
Sure.
Foam troopers, forest troopers, anything.
Right.
I'm kind of surprised they didn't do an exhibit at D23 of the Knights of Ren, because they've already shown the picture of it. So it's not like people haven't seen it, and it would be something that would be super cool. But I guess they went with Stormtroopers with the whole 40-year thing.
Mm-hmm.
But,
yeah. Anything else on these? Or you guys want to talk Galaxy's Edge?
I just want to say quickly, I think that's pretty. I think it's both. I do think that it's JJ saying, like, here you go, you can have these. We'll throw that out there to get your appetite satisfied for a little while there. But also because of the name thing, I do think that it's more to it than that. So, and they may not have a big role, but I think them as a symbol may serve as something to help push a narrative. How
right.
about that?
The other thing to recognize is months ago when that poster on Reddit came out, all of us were like, this looks pretty legit. It is legit. Yep. Everything on that poster has been true.
Yeah.
Well, except for the triangle TIE fighters.
Everything else has been true.
C-3PO with the bowcaster.
No, he had the thing on him in the trailer.
Did he?
They showed a clip of him wearing it
or a
at
photo
Celebration.
or something. Yeah.
Oh, it may be a photo at Celebration. Might have been something you saw on the Celebration stage that we didn't. Because you guys saw the stuff with that. You saw that big, like, swooping Kylo Ren shot, and we didn't get that.
Yeah, well, we saw it in the leaks eventually, yeah. But there's one person
but not
who
this image that she's talking
wasn't
about
on that poster, and we'll talk about him on Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
R2-D2.
Wow.
All right.
Wow.
All right, real quick, let's talk Galaxy's Edge. So today, the Star Wars, or not Star Wars, the Disney Parks blog revealed a new poster.
He said that's so like this be like the Disney Parks blog, like you don't like them.
The Disney Parks blog. I don't know what emphasis to put on. They're great. They do great work. Love them.
On the blog.
Yeah. They put out a new poster, brand new poster, and they announced the dates of Rise of the Resistance, a specific Rise of the Resistance poster. I don't know if I specified that, but they're announcing the days. So December 5th is the day that it's opening at Walt Disney World. It's opening there first. And then January 17th is when it's opening at Disneyland. Also, not to mention, this was announced a couple days before, but they also announced Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland Paris. So let's throw that in there as well. So we're actually getting a third Galaxy's Edge, which is pretty cool. John, how do you feel about all this news? Does this change your Disney plans? Are you going down in December?
I mean, I'd like to, but probably not. But I mean, I'll start off. I mean, the poster for Rise of the Resistance is incredible. It's hands down better than any of the theatrical posters from this era. I love it. I think it's so rich with so much to look at, and it's not one of those posters where it's like the one we were just talking about, that marketing poster that leaked, like where every character blah. Like it's just like there's other things here, and there's layers to it, and a lot of rich colors, and I like the tones. So I think the poster is insane, and the fact that it's just for a ride at a theme park.
Yeah,
I almost want to put it on my wall, but just
where's the Smuggler's Run poster?
There is one.
There is one. It leaked.
Oh,
yeah.
there is one.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a generic poster for the actual park itself. So there's Rise.
There's 3.
Park,
yeah.
Oh, okay. I must have missed
Scoundrel.
that because it kind of got lost maybe in everything else, but this seems so specific.
Yeah. So I know December 5th, I guess that's Walt Disney's birthday. So they, I don't know if that was a coincidence or they want to do that on purpose, but I'm a bigger Walt Disney World fan than Disneyland. I've never been to Disneyland, but so I think Disney World is better, frankly.
You're going to change your mind once you go.
You think I'm going to think Disneyland is better? I don't see how. But there's just so much more to do at Disney World. But
I love this poster. It's pretty awesome. Smuggler's Run poster.
So James is showing a cover from a PlayStation 2 game that's called Smuggler's Run for those of you listening on audio.
Heck yeah!
So
Rockstar, baby.
I don't know. I'm excited about the ride opening. I'm not going to go to the park until that ride opens because that's like going to see your favorite band and they're like, you know what? We're just not going to play your 10 favorite songs though. But then in 2 months from now, we're going to. So it's like, oh, you know what? Maybe I'll go see them in 2 months. But it's cool. I'm excited. I don't know when I'm going to get to go. But yeah, I want to hear why Lacey thinks I'm going to like Disneyland better than Disney World. But
yeah.
Is that an actual question?
That is an actual question.
Because I've never been to Disneyland, but I've been to Disney World
Why is Disneyland better than Disney World?
Disneyland is better than Disney World because it's smaller. And it's the original park, and you get a sense of Walt Disney when you're there because that's where he used to work and stuff, and it's just better. It's got the Indiana Jones ride,
so does Disney
Matterhorn.
World.
It's just Guardians of the Galaxy. It's just a better park.
Disney World has all those things.
No, it doesn't.
Disney World doesn't have the 3 things you just mentioned now.
It has Indiana Jones stunt show. What are you talking about?
This is a ride.
Doesn't Indiana Jones ride?
Yes.
Yeah.
John, that I've been on before I saw the movies numerous times.
That's interesting. But Disney World has like 5 parks.
So?
Yeah, 4 parks.
Yeah. And Disneyland is the one park.
Disneyland has 2 parks, and they technically have Pixar Pier 2, which is kind of a 3rd park, right? I don't know. I know Disney World just as like this crazy land
rock and roller coaster. That's probably the best ride in Disney, period.
That ride sucks.
What? You're insane.
And I think of Disneyland as just the Magic Kingdom and maybe some other stuff too. So that's how I think of it.
I think it's like novelty. Like this is the first one, so it's the best one.
The Splash Mountain at Disneyland's better than the Splash Mountain at Disney World.
It doesn't make any sense.
So is the Space Mountain.
That's
I know Space Mountain's different. Splash Mountain's different too.
Splash Mountain is a 1 row of seats, whereas in Disney World it's 2 rows of seats. Like it's 2 people can sit together, whereas Splash Mountain it's 1 person.
I like.
How does that make it better?
Yeah.
It's just more fun.
What? So this is completely subjective.
No, it's a better park.
Yeah.
What do you think of the poster and all the stuff about the ride and all that?
I'm super excited for this ride, and I really hope that I'm able to go ride it in December. I would love to take a day off of work and go down and go on this ride and go see Galaxy's Edge.
Do you think you could do it? Do you think you will? In December?
Yeah, probably. Why not?
Dang, John, she's going to beat us both.
She's
not going to wait for all of us to ride Rise of the Resistance.
Who cares?
Why would I
really
wait for you to go to Florida?
No. Wait for Disneyland. When we all go to Disneyland.
No, I would go to the Florida one.
Yeah. I want to go to the Galaxy's Edge, but I'm not like, I gotta go. Like,
I just think it's super cool.
I do too. It's just...
And this ride is supposed to like, from what I've heard, is just going to like change rides forever.
You know what it is? Yeah. I think for me, like mentally, until I have a trip booked, I'm not going to like really think about it or even like fully understand that it exists. Like it just
that makes sense.
Yeah.
I get that.
You know what I'm actually kind of afraid of when it comes to Galaxy's Edge?
That it lets you down.
Like getting there and being like, oh yeah, this is all the stuff that I've already seen.
I know, because we've seen everything because everybody talked about it so much that you're just like, okay.
I hear that it's so much more, but you watch people talk about it and it's like they announced A and B and C and D, and then when people talk about it, they're like, oh man, first we checked out A, then B,
yes.
Then we headed over to C, and there's so many other things like D, and I'm like, okay, like this is all the same stuff, so I feel like I'm going to get there and I'm going to be like, hey, look, it's C and D and A, you know, like
because it's like Harry Potter. Everybody talked about that, and I didn't go there for years. And then when I finally went, I was like, "Wow, this is really cool." I was like, "Okay, but I've already seen all of this."
The coolest thing was that person who posted that thread about the conversation they had with Rey. Someone playing Rey down there. Did you guys see that thread?
Mm-mm.
So this person talked to the person in character as Rey, and was asking her about, you know, have you heard of this? When it came to the First Order or something, she's like, no, I haven't heard of that yet. And she went on a journey with her, and they tied a ribbon to one of the trees and said, this is a Force wish about something. And she went through this whole narrative discussion with a park goer as Rey. And like, you got to I forget who the Twitter user was. I'm sure some of our listeners, if you know it, just post it in the comments. But it actually like blew me away more than the Falcon ride or build your own lightsabers or go to the cantina, like the novelty stuff. This was like an actor playing Rey at Disney parks, just probably following some kind of protocol when she was asked questions, but having a narrative discussion with somebody, and it like really interested me. So I think that stuff is probably going to be the stuff I'm into when we go to the park, like the interactions and that sort of thing.
I would love to play a Star Wars like speaking role at Galaxy's Edge, because I feel like people would ask me questions all the time and I would like go into like canon accurate details, you know? I think that would be like so cool. I'd be like someone who would like read the books and like be highlighting things specifically so I can use them at work.
Yes.
Like, oh yes, this is sweet.
And then you write it off for taxes. You're like, I need this for work research.
Yeah.
I got it. Yeah.
That would be so much fun.
But alas, we'll never get to eat with sporks.
Yes, that's right.
That's true.
On eBay.
Unless you go over to Toy Story Land and get Forky.
Oh yeah, Forky.
All right. Let's head over to the Scoundrels rundown, John. What do you got for us this week?
I don't believe it. Okay, guys, ready? We are going to do something different this week.
No.
So
do the same.
We are going to punch it.
Punch it.
Punch it.
Guys, it's never going to be different. Ever. It's always going to be punch it forever. Okay. Our first story, the evolution of Stormtroopers is coming to D23. For the first time ever, Lucasfilm is having a pavilion on the show floor, and they're going to be showcasing the 40-plus years history of the Stormtroopers, from the original Imperial Stormtroopers to the Sith Troopers that are going to appear in the Rise of Skywalker that we just talked about. So if you are going to D23, get your cameras out and take as many pictures as possible, because you're going to be as close as you've ever been to all the history of troopers in Star Wars. That should be pretty cool. And I guess a nice little nugget for fans to check out while at D23. The next story, Phasma Age of Resistance comics. So we've seen these Age of stories coming out, and now we're into the Age of Resistance, the final leg here. And the Phasma story came out. And I won't get into spoilers, so if you want to, head to StarWarsNewsNet.com. I believe Kyle did the review on this, so go check out his review if you want to check that out, or obviously go get the comic. But the most revealing thing to me is you actually saw Phasma with her helmet off, and she kind of looks like Gwendolyn Christie. So if you're wondering what Phasma looked like,
big spread.
That's what she would have looked like if they didn't cheap shot us with not enough Phasma in the sequel trilogy. But go check out the Phasma comic, and I have a feeling there's going to be more Phasma content coming down the line once they realize that they probably didn't use her enough. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like it will be Gwendolyn Christie. It'll be in comics and things like that. Okay, the final story, New York Comic-Con is coming in October. I know at least Lacey and I will be there, and you know who else will be there? No, probably not James.
You don't know that.
Maybe. But Billy Dee Williams is going to be there. Lando will be there at New York Comic-Con, making a lot of money, signing autographs, paying for more capes and canes and stuff like that, being as smooth and cool as possible at the Javits Center in New York City. So we'll see. Maybe we'll pony up and actually take a photo with Lando. We'll see. But we expect more of the Rise of Skywalker stuff to be announced for New York Comic-Con. And obviously we'll cover as much of that as we can for you. And also let you know about more potential guests coming. Maybe if Jonas goes, we can toss him a bag full of Make Solo 2 Happen t-shirts. But we'll see what happens. That is it for the Scoundrels Rundown. Of course, for all of our stories and our news reports from the Resistance Report and the Scoundrels Rundown, head to StarWarsNewsNet.com every day. News will be heating up, especially as D23 approaches and thereafter. So go there every day to stay up to date on all your Star Wars news. Now, we shall send it over to Lacey Gilleran, and she's going to run through your questions in Ask the Resistance. So, Chewie, get us out of here.
All right, guys, it's time for Ask the Resistance. You have Star Wars questions. Hopefully, we have some pretty good Star Wars answers.
I've been wondering, what are midichlorians?
So the first question comes from Scott Gibson at Scott Gibby. Hi, Scott. And he asks, since I think we have a strong shot at a solo Disney Plus series, me too, Scott, hashtag make Solo 2 happen, who would you want to have their own episodic arc / second most screen time? Han and Chewie not counted. Kira, Lando, Boba, Nest, Maul. I have to say Kira myself. So
Bubba. You see Bubba Gump? Bubba Fett?
I like how Nest was right after Boba, so it was like Boba Nest.
Boba Fett's like fried shrimp. Grilled shrimp.
All right.
Shrimp.
Scott, I'm going to go first because ladies first. We all know this. So I would also want to see Kira. I think there's a huge story there that's not being told of what happens when she goes to meet Maul. I think she has a lot to explain of where she's going and where she's come from.
A lot of explaining to do.
All right. Oh, man. But if not Kira, then I would say Emphas Best because she's the best. And I think it would be really cool to see where the rebellion is starting and how they're fighting the bad guys. So that's my answer. Hopefully you enjoyed it.
Nice.
Next is Gary Vegas at The Donkey Drip. And he says, if you could only pick one music theme from the prequels to be used in The Rise of Skywalker, what would it be? My choice is Anakin's theme. James, our music guy.
He's the one who likes the movies.
James, our Star Wars guy.
Yeah.
Why don't you tackle this one?
Oh my god, my brain is not working today. Music. You like music. You were in a band. What do you think? James.
So yeah, obviously there's a couple different themes in there that if they were to go down a specific route in the movie, like for instance, if they are bringing back Anakin, then yeah, sure, I would like Anakin's theme to, pop up. There's also like the lover thing. If they go down that route, across the stars, that'd be great. But I think in my mind, the one that would be the most likely to pop up would be Duel of Fates. Yeah. That just makes the most sense to me, because I think that you're going to have the light side versus the dark side. And if there's any way to pull in those three movies without having to mention characters and places and let's try to keep away from that as much as we can. The music is a good way to do it because everybody loves John Williams. Mm-hmm. And they could bring in that song and be like, hey, remember probably the one thing you did like about the prequels? We're going to tie it in, and we're going to make this the official final battle, and it's going to bring in little elements of that song, and that's probably the best way to do it. Although I like a lot of the music. Most of it is too specific, like droid attack, and you're like, okay, droid army, and you're like, I can't use that. So yeah, I think that's the answer. Duel of Fates has got to be the one.
That's a great answer. I just think of the meme where it's from Step Brothers where Will Ferrell's all sweaty and he's like, why are you sweating? And he's like, because I was listening to Duel of the Fates. It's so good. All right. Next is Carl Steer at Darth Hurricane. And he asks, will we ever see the Night Sisters again in Star Wars? And if so, could we ever see them in live action? John, last but not least, what do you think?
Night Sisters!
What was that karate movie you just did?
That was Terrace Kasi.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
That's like that 70s.
Night Sisters!
Yes. Yeah, if I was in an 80s band, I would call my band the Night Sisters.
I just picture flames going off behind John.
If we
green flames.
If we ever get to 100,000 subscribers on this channel, I will wear a mullet wig and record a full-fledged 80s hair metal song by the Night Sisters. Okay? All right. It'll never happen, so that's okay.
I thought it was called Night Sisters.
The band's called Night Sisters, and then the song would be Night Sisters off of the album Night Sisters. Okay. Now, the answer to this, will we see them again? Yes. I think you will. I don't know whether that be probably more likely in a comic or a book, maybe some animated, right? But there is a window there for live action if they do make a solo follow-up, because we have Kira going to Daath Amir. It takes place years before Rebels, where we saw the spirits encounter Ezra and Maul to try to break their bond. So I think the window of opportunity is there. John Kasdan likes the lore dives. We know that. So I think if we saw them in live action again, it could be to a follow-up to Solo if we do visit Daath Amir. How about that? So I think we will see them again. No guarantee it's live action, but if we do see them in live action, we're looking at in a follow-up to Solo. And that would be where I believe that would happen. So, Mr. Stare, I hope that question, the answer to that question, suited you well. Not sisters!
I thought he was going to say no.
Well, James,
I thought you were going to say no, too.
Neither of you know me very well. That's the problem.
It's because you don't have a beard anymore. Who are you?
Who are you?
No, it's because usually you're like, nah, it's the comics. Things don't move up, you know? That's usually your thing.
I thought you were going to say no because it's animation.
That's what I'm. Yeah, I said comics, but I mean anything.
I only say yes because
move up.
Darth Maul literally said, well, not Darth Maul anymore, but Maul literally said, "Come to me on Daath Amir," and that's where they're from, right? So it's that increases the odds, I guess.
And is that the first time Daath Amir was mentioned in a live action film?
Has to be, unless they slid it in the prequels somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I always said was if they showed up in live action, that's probably where you're looking at it.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not like, you gotta see the Night Sisters.
Can you stop?
I will forever do it.
All right. Last question is from Chewbacca Flocka Flame at T Crescent. And we're all going to answer this quickly. In your opinion, who is / are the most underappreciated characters in the entire saga? James, you go first.
Night Sisters!
No.
Me first, though?
Yes, you go.
Mon Mothma.
100%.
Lacey's expression is what I'm talking about. She's like, oh, that character. Yes, that character, the head of the rebellion. Like, the fact that she's in Rogue One to me is like, thank you. Finally, like, acknowledging this character. Like, if you look at the entire span of all 9 movies, she like makes one appearance very small, and yet she's the whole reason all of this is happening. You know, they even cut her out of Revenge of the Sith. They're like, yeah, well, whatever. You know, it's like, what are you talking about? In all the ancillary like novels and comics, and I'm sure even in Legends, like this character is like the leader of the rebellion, and she's like the first person to take over the New Republic and all this. It's like, you're trying to tell me this person doesn't have an important role, and you're like, yeah, it's just like, it's like in an action movie when they're like, the president. Like, the president doesn't have an important role. He's just the president, right? But I'm like, that's not, the Star Wars is not just some action movie. Like, these, specifically her, like, she has a very important role in all of this and making all this stuff happen. And people look to her for leadership. She's not just like a figurehead. You know? So Mon Mothma.
Also, she always wears white and like never a ketchup stain or anything. It's flawless.
Yeah. You've only seen her. Well, no, I guess you've seen her in the edited and in Rogue One. Okay. 3 times with the white. Maybe get her a new. Maybe
white's her color. John.
Yes. Oh,
what do you
yes.
think?
Wedge Antilles. Wedge never gets enough credit. And if you compared him to like a real war hero, he's in all your major wars. He did the Death Star 1, survived that, was one of 2 people who survived that. He did the Battle of Hoth, and he took down AT-ATs with Jensen and Luke and those guys. He did Death Star 2 and survived that. It was an integral part of getting in there and flying up and helping them blow that thing up. And you got Lando getting the credit. You got Han and Luke getting the credit for the first one, but Wedge was a big part of all of that. And that's why I really hope we see him in Episode 9. So I think Wedge Antilles, everyone talks about Chewie didn't get his medal. Where's Wedge's medal? How about that? So I think Wedge Antilles, underappreciated hero of the Star Wars saga. And his favorite band, Night Sisters!
Okay.
He also kind of had this like...
Going to the graveyard.
under the radar relationship with Snap Wexley's mom.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
We're unraveling here.
We're having fun.
I'm going to say Admiral Ackbar. I think he's really unappreciated or underappreciated.
I thought that too, but I was like, there's no way you could consider him underappreciated.
I
like,
do.
That guy
the
gets
way that
so
he got
much
treated
recognition.
the way he got treated in Last Jedi, he is definitely underappreciated.
That's being underappreciated by one person, right?
It's
but
still
then everybody else is
underappreciated.
like, well, all right, there you go. Admiral Ackbar?
Yes. He deserved a hero's exit to the saga, and he just was fried calamari. And it offended me. So he's underappreciated.
Okay, interesting.
Also, when I tell people I like Admiral Ackbar and he's like one of my favorite characters, people are always like, why? Because he had a line.
I mean, they're right, though.
I will
Underappreciated.
say, you're saying he's one of your favorite characters?
He is.
He doesn't even have character
I'm saying
development.
I appreciate him.
Oh, okay.
I said other people underappreciate him.
All right. I always saw him as like 180 pounds pile of rubber that,
That's nice of you to say about one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, I think the way I look at him is he doesn't have an arc, but he is a good symbol of someone who like never changes because he knows like exactly what he wants to be. Mm-hmm. So like even when they show him at a young age, he's like, no, we're gonna fight for this, and we're gonna stand up.
And he has such a big role in Return of the Jedi. And
he sits in that chair like a ball.
Then they were just like, psych, just kidding. He doesn't matter in the new movie.
Oh, boy.
All right, guys. Thank you for your questions. Really appreciate Star Wars questions here on Ask the Resistance. Ask the Resistance. Okay. So if you want your questions on the show, you are going to follow us on Twitter at RBATSWNN and tweet them at us or use hashtag AskTheResistance. John, back to you.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for listening and watching. If you haven't yet, or if you're new to the Resistance broadcast, welcome to the Resistance Base. We'll be back on Thursday with you, but make sure you subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, and if you're watching right here on YouTube. Drop a comment. Get involved in the conversation on Twitter, like Lacey said, at RBATSWNN. We have a really awesome community of listeners and viewers, and everyone likes to interact and have a good time, so join the party. It makes being part of our podcast experience even better, and get involved with the podcast by dropping questions and resistance transmissions and all that kind of stuff. Make sure you also head to StarWarsNewsNet.com, as I said earlier, for all of your Star Wars news and information. And if you want to support the Resistance broadcast, like these fine fellows do, those are our generals on Patreon, and that is Carmelo, a.k.a. a Grey Jedi. Yes, Carmelo, I'm saying a Grey Jedi, okay? Brian Shellito, Andrew Staley, Len Brown, Neel Lowery, Jeremy Myers, Neil Shah, our newest general, David Probus, and Val Trichkov. What a list. What a crew. Thank you guys so much for your support. If you want to support the Resistance broadcast, just hop over to the site right now after the show. Patreon.com/Resistance broadcast. We have new content going up there pretty much every day. You can start supporting us at $2 a month at the pilot level, and we have 5 tiers all the way up to the general level. But either way, you get a lot of great content, and of course, you're supporting us, so we thank you for all of your support. But don't forget, our podcast will always be free every Monday and Thursday. You guys can find me on Twitter at Johnny Hoey and writing and editing over at StarWarsNewsNet.com. James Baney, how about you, buddy?
When Twitter is not down, you can find me at Myra Trunks, MIRA.
Dude,
it's right here.
That felt like that legit felt like the Truman Show. I was like, what do I do now? Twitter's down.
It's true.
I went to go tweet about Twitter being down. That's how mentally ill I've become from Twitter. But anyway, Lacey, like James said, when Twitter's not down, where can people find you tweeting about eating dinner at your coffee table?
I thought we were.
You can find
this.
Lacey at hashtag Make Solo 2 happen.
Yeah, it's true.
Is that a joke? Because that's actually true.
No,
you can find me at
like there.
Lacey Gilleran.
That
I did
is
it.
Right.
On Twitter and Instagram. I've been posting on Instagram.
Yeah, I'm not a big, people have been following me on Instagram. I'm like, I guess if you want to see a picture of my son.
John's been liking my photos.
Yeah.
At Lacey Gilleran.
Have I?
Yes.
When people get on Instagram to look at photos, can we call it watching the Grammys?
I guess so.
That is the dumbest thing you have ever said.
Hey man, what are you doing over there? Oh, watching the Grammys.
I mean, it's
So
not,
dumb.
yeah, it's not great. It's not great.
It's not good. But yeah, you can catch me on Twitter talking about how Ben Solo is going to live.
Right. Hashtag viral. All right, guys. So we will be back on Thursday, where we're going to discuss, where is R2-D2? Is JJ hiding him on purpose? And is he going to have a big role in the Rise of Skywalker under the radar during the marketing of the film?
And will John have his beard back in time for Thursday?
I doubt it very much. I can promise you, I doubt it very much. All right, guys. So we're gonna fire that discussion up on Thursday. But until then, enjoy your week and try to wonder: are we bringing the will of the Force back? Are we doing one with the Force? What's going on?
Can we get that sweatshirt that James has on?
Yeah, if you can find James's sweatshirt in time, We'll know that you found,
found it.
James Baney. Okay, guys, so we'll see you on Thursday morning with another episode right here on the Resistance broadcast. And as always, we'll see you around, kids.